everyone. We're here today with Francesco Cariaggi. I hope I said that right. He is a participant of the last batch, the last session of the School of AI that we just celebrated at Pi School. They presented their projects in December. I think that's correct. And we're here again to learn a little bit more about the participants' experiences. So, Francesco, hello. How are you today?
Hello, Maggie. I'm fine. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so I see that you study computer science and then you've gotten into AI. Can you tell us a little bit more about that journey?
Yeah, so I've studied computer science at the University of Pisa, the city of the Leaning Tower. You probably know.
I think I do.
I got a master's degree in computer science there. I got interested in AI only the last 2 years because, the first 3 years, I guess, cover more general topics. And then in the last 2 years, you can choose your specialization and pick the subjects that you're more interested in. So yeah, that's where I got into these topics, and in fact, I've done a thesis on machine learning and AI. Specifically, it concerned the prediction of time series values using a particular model called the recurrent neural networks. And that was an interesting work, and that got me interested in AI, and that's why, eventually I arrived here in Pi School and got to the School of AI.
That was going to be my next question. How was that? How did you make that transition? Were you looking to further your studies? Were you looking for a working experience? Were you looking for something in between? How did you end up applying to the School of AI?
I essentially considered different options. One option was doing the PhD, but I soon realized that, I had enough of studying, so I just said, okay, let's go to work, literally, and Pi School and School of AI in particular, I felt like was a very great chance for me to focus on real problems that could be solved using AI, and actually working closely with people from the industry. I think it's the best way to, get familiar with the problems and develop some expertise that lets you realize that, okay, this problem is easily solvable using an AI approach, and that's something that, if you follow tutorials and courses, that's something that, it's hard to, you don't gain such kind of expertise by doing just classwork. So absolutely. That's why
the learn by doing is, I think, the best way to learn. There's some point in theories, very good, but then it's about, like you said, let's get to work. So can you tell us in your own words how the program itself works, how you get matched up, how with the partner, with the project? Is it in your area of expertise? Is it random? How does that work?
So I guess, so every project at Pi School essentially begins with a company reaching out to Pi School and discussing a problem that the company has and that they think could be solved using AI. Now, after that, after PySchool also agrees on the fact that this is indeed a problem that can be solved using AI, which is not necessarily true in all cases. At this point, PySchool essentially sets up a team of people. In my case, for instance, it was a team of 2 people. And so the choice of the teammates is not completely random. It's based on the previous experience that the team members have. So I guess they make an effort to make sure that you work on projects for which you can provide like concrete help. And so the team has to solve or kind of devise a prototypical solution to the problem in 8 weeks. And along these 8 weeks, the team is flanked by what is called a coach. So it's a person within PySchool, which essentially supports the team by giving suggestions and feedbacks about the work done, and also essentially defines the next steps, each time. And then the team can also count on what is called a mentor, which is a person which is not from PySchool, so it's an external person. And in most cases, it's actually a researcher in the field of AI and deep learning. And the role of the mentor is to make sure that the team works with cutting-edge technologies and is aware of the latest advances in AI, so that they can be applied to the problem at hand. So that's how, in general, that's how the program works.
And how long do you have to develop these solutions? How long is the program?
So it's the time we have is 8 weeks. We have several meetings with the coaches and the mentors along the way, where we just talk about where we are, where do we stand, where do we go, and yeah, at the end of the 8 weeks, the idea is to have either something working, but more often it's like a prototypical solution. So it's what is called, I guess, in the jargon, a proof of concept. So it's a proof that this problem can be solved using AI, and so yeah, the proof of concept is just like a prototypical solution, yeah, as I mentioned.
So in your for this particular project, what were you working on? What was what can you say? Because I know that a lot of things aren't, we can't talk about them, they're confidential, but what can you tell us about the project you worked on, and what was the challenge, or how did you go about it? Did you find a solution for it? How implementable is that solution?
Okay, so the problem I've worked on is kind of interesting because it's an example of a problem that okay, let's put it this way. It's an example of when AI enables itself. So to make things clear, so we normally think of AI as a solution to a problem, right? Now, specifically in my case, in the case of our problem, the problem that we were trying to solve was machine translation, namely automatic translation of texts to other languages. Now, of course, this is a problem that you can solve using AI, but now, in order for AI models to work properly, you need to build what is called a training set. And the training set is essentially builds up the experience that the model will learn from to be able to solve the problem. And in many cases, building this training set is absolutely non-trivial. For instance, for machine translation, a training set is composed of sentence pairs, so pairs of sentences which are one translation of the other. So imagine telling this model, okay, this sentence here, this Italian sentence here translates to this English sentence here, and figure out by yourself how you do the translation. And you provide a lot of these examples, and the model will automatically figure out by itself, by learning from this training set, how to perform the translation. So, precisely because forming this training set is not trivial, it turns out that you can solve this problem using AI. So you're essentially using AI to enable AI. And in our case, the idea was exactly this. So we started from multilingual documents. For instance, let's say multilingual websites, or you can also think about like different versions of your favorite book. You know, nowadays there are electronic versions for every book. So let's say you have the Italian and English version of your favorite book, and then you want to align the sentences so that each sentence in the Italian book is paired with its corresponding translation in the English book. So that was the problem we were trying to solve, and we managed to devise a prototypical solution that was based on cutting-edge technologies. Specifically, we used models, pre-trained models made available by Google and Facebook, and we were actually pretty happy with the results we got.
So I'm usually interested in the collaboration between AI engineers and experts and the actual and the people and the businesses and the companies you're helping with, and you know the clients in that regards. But by the explanation of what you just told me, I think it's very technical, probably what you did. So you had less exchange with the client in that sense. Is that correct? Or you still had to, was there a lot of exchange? I'm thinking also when you think about translation, my mind goes to, you will need an expert there who really knows about, translating books from one language to the other and the subtleties. And how do you work with that when you're just using AI models? That's what comes to mind more so than the collaboration with the client as a business, as, okay, we want these results, we want this in place. It's more, how do you really produce a valuable product or solution that can be used without that expertise because you don't have it? How do you supply that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, so fortunately, our sponsor was a company that does translations on a daily basis. So we were not. It's not like we were talking to people that didn't know anything about AI.
Okay.
Like they use AI in their daily work. So it was kind of convenient to work with them because we knew what they wanted. We knew essentially which performance indicators, let's say, we had to optimize, which is not always the case. Sometimes companies reach out and ask for an AI solution to a problem they have, but they don't know anything about AI.
Exactly.
So that's in those cases, it's a bit more complicated, but luckily it was not our case.
They had clean data, I suppose, that you could work with. They had everything in place. So it's sort of a dream project that you had, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
in that regards, I
yeah.
think I was speaking with other participants, and in other cases, sometimes you guys get to work and there's really nothing. I mean, really hardly any data. You have to make it up a bit, and find resources to gather data that isn't really there from the client side. So that's why I say you probably had a dream challenge in that sense, because
well, I guess we were in a more favorable position compared to other participants, but
as a starting point, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying that the challenge was easier. I'm just saying that you start with with everything.
No. Okay. Yeah, but actually, it was not quite the dream scenario because, the task was clear, but the data was kind of lacking. Like they didn't have. Like they didn't hand over to us any particular data set to start with. We had to look up the internet, read up on similar approaches, find which data sets are commonly used. And so, yeah, that was something we had to do in this case. But yeah, as I said, having a clear picture of what the task is certainly desirable. So I would say we were lucky.
Good. So what would you say is your main takeaway from this experience, participating at the School of AI, working in this particular project, working with the mentors and coaches with your partner that you had? I think it was all done online. This last batch was online because of COVID. So from all of that, what do you take that is really essential?
Yeah, so I guess the main takeaway was the ability to work like closely with the client, which is something that, yeah, I was mentioning that before. It's something that you usually don't get when you're starting, especially when you're a novice in the field, when you're following tutorials and courses. You miss that part. So it was really interesting to to work with actual problems that actual people had, and helping them to solve such problems. Now, the School of AI program was particularly interesting because even though the name might be a bit misleading, School of AI, you think of a school which has lectures and homework and stuff like that, but really it's like a place where you can gain some valuable experience, some work experience that will be useful in future jobs and in your career in general. So that was absolutely great. And on top of that, last but not least, I guess it was great to be able to know people from all over the world. There were people from literally every country, I guess. We had people from the Middle East, from North America, from Africa, you name it. We had people
the coaches
from all over
as
the world.
well? Are the coaches also located?
The coaches, no, I think they are Italian, as far as I know. But the mentors, so the researchers, they are, they can be, you know,
Anywhere.
from anywhere in the world. So that's really, really good. And yeah, so even though this session had to be done remotely, it was still very very fun to, you know, get to know a lot of different people and a lot of different cultures.
Good. So I think it actually met your goal. As you said, you know, you wanted to, when I asked you what you were looking for a hands-on project to learn by doing. And this is exactly what the School of AI supplied. And I think it's important also for engineers and people working in this field to understand how they need to bridge, you know, the technical with the applications that AI can have in the real world. And so to work with these, you know, hands-on projects, it's good for you because you get experience, but it also gives you a bit of an overview of where, you know, where this can be really used in the world today. As far as that, where do you see the most impact in the future of AI, well, in the near future for this year, next year, of AI in real business and real applications that it's not already been covered? I mean, not the obvious ones.
Yeah, sure. So I guess, so I foresee that AI will impact several different areas. For instance, in the business area, I expect AI to be used to automate processes mainly. So essentially replace some tedious works and tedious procedures that are currently carried out by humans, and so replace them with an automatic approach using AI.
I can think of quite a few, and that would be great if they all came true.
Yeah. And as far as society goes, I believe the next big impact will be self-driving cars, because that's something that involves everyone, and like I see that recently, even the most influential companies and research centers have been working on these topics. Like Google and Tesla are actually actively working in this area of autonomous driving. So I believe it will become a reality sooner than expected.
It has, in your opinion, the reason why it hasn't become a reality, is it because there's still some technical issues that need to be resolved? Or is it because of everything else, the actual implementation of something like this, and having this hybrid world where you have automated, you know, self-driven cars and human-driven cars? To me, just thinking about this is such a mess. So I don't know if the cars are ready, the lot is full, you know, we're ready to go, but it's like, how do we go about this? Or if there's still issues there?
Well, yeah, I guess there are still some issues, which are of different kind. I guess one thing is related to safety, because before you even think of of releasing a self-driving car to the public, to the market, you have to be 100% sure that it's safe. And so that's one thing that I guess prevents self-driving cars from becoming a reality, even though maybe, you know, there are already working prototypes in laboratories and stuff like that. And another thing, I guess, it's about data. So the same problem I was mentioning before. Again, if you're willing to use an AI approach to develop self-driving cars, you need data. So, for instance, in this case, you would need several types of data. You need image data to recognize, for instance, what's in front of you, what's in front of the car. You need maybe other types of data like sounds that, you know, like tell you that give you an idea of what's the environment around you. And finally, I guess computing power is also an obstacle at the moment, because you can imagine that training these kind of models can take a very, very long time, even for companies that have access to supercomputers and data centers with thousands and thousands of supercomputers. But it's still hard, because it's hard to train a model to the point where it's, you know, 100% reliable and 100% working.
Yeah, I think at some point they'll get there enough so they can start rolling it out, and then, as everything, you know, it'll be a matter of momentum and picking up and more, you know. And I'm looking forward. I really do want to see this soon. I don't like driving, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, I guess it would be like kind of a dream.
Yes.
Like, imagine sitting in your car, reading a book instead of having to pay attention to the road, and, you know, avoiding people that want to cross the road, stuff like that.
And there are a lot of issues that come out of it. Car ownership, that will change. Insurance, of course, will be a totally different, you know, the products for car insurance will need to change. So there are a lot of things that, you know, that are going to change because of it. And there's going to be a lot of AI involved probably in be solving that too. So it'd be interesting to see. And it's good to have you guys there to figure it all out while we enjoy it. So Francesco, just to end this, you are now involved with the school. You have gone from being a participant to being one of us, one of the team. How did this happen? What are you doing? What's the plan here?
So yeah, it's something that it's not uncommon for people that participated in the School of AI to then get involved in like future projects with the School of AI and PySchool itself. Now, in my case, for instance, I'm gonna work on a similar project, on a project that is similar to what I've worked on during the School of AI. So it's still based. It's still in the area of NLP, natural language processing. So working with text data, and I'm not sure how much I can mention about that, but it's so on a general to give you a general picture of what the project is kind of like building a search engine, like, you know, Google and stuff like that, using AI. So looking for relevant piece of texts based on like the actual meaning, the actual information contained in those texts.
Different
so
client,
not just
though.
based on syntactic. Yeah, it's a different client. Yeah, it's not the same company. Exactly.
Perfect. All right. So good. So far, so good. You happy? Yeah. Perfect.
Actually, the project is yet to start, but it's gonna start very soon. So I'm very excited. I hope it will be fun. Yeah.
And after that, you'll find more projects to work on. No more studying.
No, I think I'm done studying.
All right, Francesco, thank you so much for having this chat with me and sharing all of this with everyone out there. I'll see you on Monday in our team meeting.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It was a nice conversation. Thank you.
It was. Take care. Bye-bye.